Action! Welcome to another exciting episode of the Action Podcast. We got an all-star crew today, and today we are talking Die Hard from 1988, starring Bruce Willis, of course, Alan Rickman, and Bonnie Bedelia. With me, we have...
Is it Bedelia or Bedelia?
Bobby Bonilla?
Bobby Bonilla, yeah.
Bobby Bonilla,
I think I
who's
mistyped
still
it,
being
actually.
paid by the Mets or something.
Yeah. My intern misspelled the name. My intern. Yeah, you're right. It's Bedelia. And yeah, my bad. Bonnie Bedelia. There we go. To my left, I have my brother, Pete Dog. To my
Hello.
bottom left, we have Pete Busch. And to my bottom right, I have Jake Fenske. And if you haven't catched these guys before, they were on our Top Gun podcast. They've also been on our Back to the Future podcast, as well as Karate Kid. So if you haven't checked those out, make sure you check these fellas out on those podcasts. Those are very, very funny podcasts if you haven't caught them out. And yeah, so like I mentioned, we're talking Die Hard today, which was directed by the great John McTiernan, who also directed Predator and Hunt for Red October.
All of Jake's favorite films. This guy's
All of them
at the helm.
Yeah, seriously. This was written by
If
Roger.
only he did
Thorpe.
Home Alone too. You know?
Yeah. he would be the perfect director if he directed Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is actually based on a novel by Roderick Thorpe. And the screenplay was written by Jeb Stewart, who also did Another 48 Hours in The Fugitive. So he's got some writing chops. And then Stephen E. D'Souza, who wrote 48 Hours and also Commando, another one of Jake's favorite.
Another one of Jake. I mean, this is the Jake podcast right here.
Yeah.
Commando's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's like 80s royalty right here.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly.
And so for anybody that has not seen Die Hard, this movie is about an NYPD officer who tries to save his wife and several others taken hostage by German terrorists during a Christmas party at the Nakatomi Plaza, where Pete lives by, in Los Angeles. So yeah, so why are we watching this film? Well, you know, some people will call this the greatest Christmas film of all time.
I agree.
Terrible.
I agree with that 100%.
Christmas movie.
And we will debate that here as well. But yeah, it's definitely one of the more hotly contested movie debates of all time. But regardless, Die Hard is an instant classic, and this vaulted Bruce Willis into the A-list category. And yeah, so and for me, I mean, I was a little too young, I think, when this first came out. I don't know when we first started watching this, Pete, but I definitely know I saw it on TV and then all the reruns. And then, you know, so we saw, you know, Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mother, probably, or some sort of variation of that. But
Some sort of TV edit.
yeah, exactly. But I just remember watching this as a kid, and you know, just there wasn't really a movie like this before, where it's just kind of nonstop adrenaline with kind of a comedic edge to it as well. And I'll tell you what, this movie, I mean, I watch it every year at least once, but this movie continues to hold up. I continue to laugh every single time I watch this movie, and I just love it, how it's constructed, the villains, everything. This movie is so perfect for me, and definitely one of the greatest action films of all time. Pete Dog, we'll start with you today. What is what are your thoughts on this film?
Yes, my thoughts. This is the best. This is the best movie in so many categories. It checks so many different boxes. Certainly action, certainly Christmas. Some of the best Christmas films of all time. This is certainly among the top 5 of all time. And I certainly, in order to you know, corroborate my claim, I have 11 instances of why this is a Christmas movie. I'm sure we don't have time to get into all 11, but I'm happy to post them and send them to everybody on how this is considered a Christmas movie. I've done.
Why don't you just give us maybe your top 3, Pete? Maybe just the top 3.
My top 3. Okay.
Are we doing this right now?
Are we doing this right now?
Yeah,
I feel
let's
like
do
this is okay.
Okay.
No. Let's do this. Let's do this after. Tell us what this movie
Let's
means.
do this after.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll do right after that.
This was one of those films when I saw it, it was just, I don't think I'd seen a film like this before. It was full of action. It was with a character that I knew from a really, I guess it wasn't a bad TV show. It was kind of comedic, I suppose, in moonlighting. And I didn't know who Alan Rickman was. This was just a movie with unknowns for me at this time. And I was completely blown away with it. And I think that the director did an incredible job of bringing not only the action to the forefront, but really kind of bringing you inside of the sort of arc that John McClane goes through, and all the other characters go through. Sergeant Powell goes through certainly a really great arc as well, which I have a problem with, but we'll get to that at the end. And currently, as I've watched this, as you said, every year at Christmas time, because it's a Christmas movie, currently it's a great film for me because I literally live 3 blocks away from the Nakatomi Plaza, and I get to look at it every day. And I send pictures to Jake and Paul all the time of different angles and like different places where I am like situated. Like, where am I today? I'm like right there. I think the one I sent to you guys recently was like the most like closest one I've been recently. But I'm always reminded of this movie every day, every time I walk out the door, because I can see it. I can see Nakatomi Plaza. And I just want to think about all the wild goose chases that go along around this building. It is a classic movie, and Bruce Willis crushes. Everybody crushes in this film, and there you go.
Awesome.
Best Christmas movie ever.
Pete Busch, what do you have for us?
This is not even my favorite Die Hard film, so I'm coming in a little jaded.
Hot take.
It's like I saw Vengeance, and I think I saw the second one even before I saw the original. And when I saw the original, it was such a letdown. I was just like, it's not nearly as good. Like, clearly they got better over time.
Can we bring in a different guest for this show?
What? Who hired?
No, it's a great movie, but Vengeance is way better in my book. So I don't remember the first time I actually saw this movie, but it was on TV, and it I don't know, it did not wow me, clearly.
Jeez. Wow. I wasn't expecting this, guys.
Yeah. Wow, talk about left field.
Yeah, I think the question was, why are we watching this film, not why are we not watching this film?
I was forced to. No.
Yeah.
I had to.
However, I will say, watching it again recently, it was way, way better than I had remembered. So it's completely actually changed my opinion of the film. And to Paul's point, it holds up. It is very entertaining. The pacing of it is fantastic. The establishing of all the characters, I thoroughly enjoyed it the most recent time I watched it. So as a rewatch, so for all the fans that maybe don't like Die Hard or don't get what it's all about, rewatch it. Totally reconfirmed. Okay, this is a solid film.
Totally redeemed itself.
It did.
Totally redeemed yourself.
And totally redeem yourself.
So,
all right. Well, Jake, I don't know if you can top that.
Pete's back.
Either one of those. Jeez.
Hot take, Pete.
One of the best action movies of all time. One of the best action actors of all time, Bruce Willis. Great performances by him and Alan Rickman. One of the best villains of all time. I mean, just all around. If you haven't seen it yet, shame on you, because it's just the classic. The rewatchability is off the charts. The quotability is off the charts.
Off the charts.
And
if you haven't seen Die Hard yet, something wrong with you.
That's right. Something wrong with you.
Awesome. Well, awesome. So with this, I'm just going to go outside the box thinking, just because he had courage enough to do this. And I'm just feeling...
Don't start the point system off like this by rewarding somebody who doesn't like the movie we're reviewing. Don't do it.
I'll wait for the judges.
Just don't do it. You're the judge, so do what you want.
There it is.
Well, I don't want people to feel like they can't have different opinions here, Pete. And that's what we're all here about, the Action Podcast.
Yeah.
We're here to
everyone's voice matters here.
Everyone's voice matters. And so I want to applaud Pete for having a different opinion. And it does make sense, because again, like, part of it is how, like, when you grow up and how you watch it, especially like if the movie comes out kind of in your young heydays. And so I don't agree with his opinion, but that doesn't mean that he didn't do a good job of explaining it. But with that being said, I'm going to give the point to Jake.
Yes.
Ooh.
But yeah,
that's right.
But
strong.
Thought I had it.
Taking the early lead.
Almost had it. You almost swayed him.
So Jake's gonna start off with a point for background, guys. I think we know who's gonna get the background point here. Just use your eyes.
Yeah.
But Jake's gonna get that point too. So Jake's gonna take a solid 2-0 lead here.
Two of these things are not like the other.
Yeah. Let's just go into this Christmas debate. Yeah, I want to hear if you think it is or if you think it isn't, and then state your case and try and keep it tight.
Yeah,
tight.
All right, so Pete Busch, we'll start with you. Is this a Christmas movie? Is this not a Christmas movie?
I thought it was a joke when somebody said that Die Hard's a Christmas movie. And I thought about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it was on Christmas. And that's because the holiday is not central to the movie, right? Bruce Willis confirmed it's not a holiday movie, and it could literally happen on any other day of the year, and it'd still be as good of a movie. Christmas has nothing to do with the plot.
But it didn't. It happened on Christmas at a Christmas party.
It actually did not happen on Christmas, Pete.
It happened on Christmas Eve.
It happened on a Christmas party.
No,
yeah,
it's
on a Christmas party on Christmas Eve. So Christmas has not even happened yet. The next day is Christmas.
Yeah, but who has a work party on Christmas Day?
Santa's not
scheduled Christmas parties.
There's no Christmas theme. There's no Santa. There's no elves. There's nothing about this movie says it's Christmas at all.
The other aspect too is I mean, you made a good point. What company has a company party on Christmas? What company party has a Christmas Eve Christmas party? I mean, that's an asshole move too. Company Nakatomi. Nobody does that. Because everyone has their own Christmas Eve plans. Like, you're not a Christmas party on that night before.
Now, I contend that, yes, it is not a Christmas Story or Elf. It is not your traditional sort of Christmas film. However, because of the setting, which we've just established, it's at a Christmas party, at a Christmas function, full of Christmas decorations everywhere. Those Christmas decorations are not only just set pieces, but they're also incorporated into the storytelling. Like, for example, now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho. There's many songs, Christmas songs that are sung throughout this thing, including the Run DMC. McClane whistles Jingle Bells as he's walking towards the elevator at the beginning. Sergeant Powell is singing Let It Snow as he's going back to his car after the inspection.
It's a Christmas season for sure.
Yeah.
Theo is like the man. He's like Mr. Christmas. When he uses a Christmas poem to tell us about the assholes in the 2x2 cover formation that are coming to attack. He also says, when there's one lock left to break, he says, hey, it's Christmas. It's, we need a miracle. And then Hans is like, it's Christmas. It's the time of miracles. When the vault is finally opened, Theo says, Merry Christmas. And then when John McClane, when he has to defeat Hans at the end, he needs something to help himself achieve this. And what does he find? He finds some tape to put a gun to his back. Where does he find that tape? In a pile of Christmas presents off to the side. You know what I mean? And it ends with the song Let It Snow. I mean, there's just Christmas throughout this movie. Whether it's a traditional Christmas movie or not, sure. It's not a traditional Christmas movie, but it is peppered with Christmas throughout, through the dialogue, through the settings, through everything else. I think it's a Christmas movie for sure.
Pete, are you wearing sweatpants?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew it because it's a stretch. It is such a stretch right there. Everything you just said was such a stretch in a reach to say that's a Christmas movie.
How can you say that when the movie is literally littered with Christmas references, visual, auditory?
Paul, when did this movie come out? Did this come out on Christmas?
88.
Yeah, it came out on Christmas.
88.
It was a Christmas.
No, I know
movie.
it was 88, but did it come out around Christmas? Like I think they're just like, oh, let's just make it a Christmas movie and throw in all this random crap that doesn't actually make it a Christmas movie.
Yeah, but you don't add all that stuff afterwards. I mean, you know about movie making. That stuff's all planned ahead.
It was released on July 22nd.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, Christmas in July.
Yeah, actually, you just lost the argument, Pete. Because
Okay, hold on.
Christmas.
Meanwhile, I just gave you every single reference.
Yeah,
of
but
Christmas
if it was
throughout the movie.
if Fox actually thought it was a Christmas movie, they would have released it in November. There's not
Yep.
one Christmas movie released. Like, look
crazy.
at Netflix right now. Netflix is peppered with Christmas movies right now. Those didn't come out in March though. They weren't early releases in June.
Yeah, but every
coming out
important
now.
line, every important line, and every important scene in this film, there's a Christmas reference. Whether it's Merry Christmas or we need.
I don't know about every
miracle.
important line.
Everyone know, because actually westerns are have more of a prevalent theme in this than like this movie's also like High Noon, right? Like High Noon plays a large kind of role in this movie, the film.
I don't think that you know you're talking about. Jake, back me up, dog.
Well,
Bruce Willis disagreed with you, so Jake, I want to hear your take.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
But what is?
It's Jake's
hold on. Yeah, Die Hard is about. Really, it's just about a guy going to reunite with his family at Christmas time. That's it. The terrorist thieves get in the way of that. So like the whole story is literally the goal for him is to reunite with Holly
at Christmas time.
Right. That's the whole reason why he's there. Okay. Here's what do you think Home Alone is a Christmas movie?
Yes.
What's the difference between Die Hard and Home Alone? Home Alone is about a kid alone in his house fighting two burglars.
I don't think Home Alone's a Christmas movie.
In a building fighting.
Home Alone was released during
burglars.
Christmas, though.
Yeah, but that doesn't. I mean, thematically, it's the same thing. Okay. Now, I
is a good argument.
Point. I get the point that it's not as Christmassy or it doesn't have the Christmas spirit like Home Alone does, but the themes are very similar.
I agree, 100%.
And like what Pete said, there's Christmas music throughout it. Even when you introduce Hans and the terrorists when they come in the building, the score has like Winter Wonderland in it.
Thank you.
Interesting.
It's Christmas. It's a time of miracles.
So,
don't worry about it.
So ultimately, I don't think it's a Christmas movie. Whether or not I think Home Alone
split down the middle 2-2.
A Christmas movie is fair. Like I said, I think if this was released in November, I think you have a stronger argument. But it's just a fact that it wasn't. And again, name another Christmas movie released in July. Go ahead. I'll give you a minute. Oh, that's right. You can.
I mean, we would certainly have to research that, Paul. We just know that
there's no other movie
off the top of our heads.
But anyways, I actually thought Jake had a great argument because the Home Alone one that's a good argument. Pete,
I agree with Jake. That was a good argument.
Pete, your argument was a lot of superficial stuff. But
it was a stretch.
I'm gonna give the point
to superficial when I basically laid out that the entire film had Christmas references throughout.
It's a Christmas setting versus a Christmas movie. I think that there's
with Christmas dialogue and Christmas music and Christmas.
No, because there's just as much Western dialogue as there is Christmas.
That's cool.
Like the number one line in this movie is a Western thematic.
So you're basing this off of like whatever the most popular line of the film is.
You made the point that every famous line in this movie had something to do with Christmas.
Yeah, I'm actually rebuttaling your.
Now you're kind of backtracking that.
Except for one. I didn't say the most famous line. I said in very important scenes.
Well, anyways, I think Jake did a good job of making the point. However, I'm gonna give the point to Pete just because I liked his joke, and he had other good points. And I actually agree more with Pete. But Jake, you had a very good point. So normally I'd give you the point, but Pete had a good joke in there.
You each get a point, maybe.
You already got the
points. All right, fine.
You're still up 2-1, Jake. Don't worry.
Okay,
so let's move on.
To win. Play to win the game.
So just FYI to also add to this argument, 20th Century Fox formally admitted that Die Hard was a Christmas movie after stating that it's the greatest Christmas story ever told in a new trailer to mark
He's so upset he just left
anniversary of the film's release. However, the debate on whether it's a Christmas movie or not among fans continues to this day. So I definitely think it's an opinion thing.
What would be great is if our fans would comment about this. Is this a Christmas movie or not? I'd love to hear their opinions, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Comment below. Give us your opinion, and we'll see through the internet web.
And really be on the right side of this argument.
Yeah.
Be on the Peter and Jake side.
Okay, so some stats on this budget and box office. This was actually made for $28 million, which is not a small movie at that time. But it ended up grossing over 141 million worldwide, 83 million domestic. Reviews wise, this got an 8.2 IMDb rating, which ranks it like 119 overall of all movies.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's had a 72 Metascore, which is not bad at all. Especially for an action movie. That's actually pretty good for an action movie. And this was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress in 2017 for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant, which is pretty much the Hall of Fame for films.
Yeah, government finally doing something right.
You know, 2 reviews. One got 100 from real views. James Berardinelli. Not only is a thrill a minute ride, but it has one of the best film villains in recent memory, a hero everyone can relate to, dialogue that crackles with wit, and a lot of very impressive pyrotechnics. I think that hits it right on the button. Our boy Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times. On a technical level, there's a lot to be said for Die Hard. It's when we get to some of the unnecessary adornments of the script that the movie shoots itself in the foot. Yeah, that does not, I think, hold up very well at all. Like I said,
it's not even a review. It's just a statement, and it's a dumb one.
And you know, I know a few of us went to film school. I mean, this film is actually, again, like, this is one of the few action films that's even talked about. Like, John McTiernan gets so much praise for some of this film, even the script itself. But this is, again, technically, on so many different levels, this film is done so well for an action film. I mean, the characters, even if you go, you know, spoiler, you go all the way to the end, and even, you know, Reginald Vell Johnson's character, you know, comes full circle, which is very, very rare for a you know, a B character to kind of have a full arc, and it ends up happening. You know what I mean? You think the movie's over and it's not, and he comes through. So I think, again, I think Roger Ebert missed the boat on this one. But again, he's hit and miss on a lot of these classics. So nobody's perfect, I guess.
Yeah.
So with that, guys, we're going to hop into our first list of the evening, and we are going to rank the top 5 Bruce Willis movies. And I think even now more than ever, this is so appropriate because as it's already been announced, you know, Bruce Willis has retired from acting due to medical conditions. And so obviously we hope the best for him. But with that, we just definitely want to honor what he has done for us fans and filmmakers. So Jake, we'll start with you on this one. Give us your top 5 Bruce Willis movies, 5 to 1.
Okay. Number 5, I got The Sixth Sense.
Oh, okay.
Number 4, I got Fifth Element.
Okay.
3, I got 12 Monkeys.
Okay.
2, Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And 1, Die Hard, of course.
Yeah, number 1 should pretty be unanimous here, unless somebody's feeling hot takey.
I'm feeling hot takey on this one.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Oh, okay.
Pete Escarcega, what do you have?
I'm gonna go number 5 for me is a movie that is near and dear to my heart. Growing up, it's The Last Boy Scout.
Nice.
This was I think the first time I saw Bruce Willis outside of well, did this come out before or after?
It's after, I don't know. Sure.
It was after. Either way, I thought that this film was hilarious. It was ridiculous. It's just not a great film, but it's a good film to watch because it's fun and it's got football in it and people shooting football players while they're trying to score a touchdown. It's just silly, but it's fun.
And Mark stole our VHS copy of it when we recorded it from one of the previews of like HBO or something like that, and Mark borrowed it for like
ever
like 3 years.
Ever. Number 4 for me is Pulp Fiction, one of the best movies of all time, but his role was not as huge as some of the other characters in that film. But I thought that his role, I thought he played it to perfection. I thought that character warranted a Bruce Willis performance, and I think he crushed in that film. Number 3 for me is Sixth Sense. I was one of those people that was surprised at the end of Sixth Sense. It wasn't spoiled for me. It was one of those like, oh my God moments. And I thought that his performance throughout really just sort of kind of set me up for that big reveal at the end. I thought he crushed in that film. Number 2 for me is Unbreakable. And I just was really affected by this movie in a positive way. I just loved that this was a superhero kind of movie that was like the origin story. And I thought that he really portrayed that character just to absolute perfection. It's debatable about the other ones, but I know for that one for sure, I don't really see anybody else playing that role. And number 1, like Mr. Fenske said, it's Die Hard, best movie ever.
All right, Pete Busch, what do you have?
I'm going to throw out an honorable mention for The Jackal. Always enjoyed that film. Good Jack Black cameo in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, my favorite Die Hard with a Vengeance. Thoroughly enjoyed that movie. I remember seeing it at the premiere and just loving it. I think that was the first movie I saw with THX sound.
You went to the premiere of Die Hard with a Vengeance?
It was like the day it came out. Like it was the premiere day.
That's opening day.
Not the red carpet premiere.
Yeah, you went to opening day of it, not the premiere.
No, I went. It was like an advanced screening because I remember I won a T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Number 4.
Advanced screening is way different than the premiere.
Yeah. All right. Number 4. Armageddon. Great popcorn flick. Just I love the rewatchability of it. It's over the top. It's like I don't know, the whole plot is just amazing, and Ben Affleck, I think there's a good combo of sort of the father-in-law, good dynamic there.
Wait, side note, did you guys hear this story recently of we had to literally go to an asteroid and blow that one up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The one.
Yeah, it was like a test to see if we could actually do it. Yeah.
But what they don't tell you is that Bruce Willis actually went there. That's why he's retiring.
Well, just like they're all oil well drillers, and they have to come and save the planet. Like it's just ridiculous. I love it.
I love it.
Number 3, Sixth Sense, for the same reasons, Pete. I was surprised when I watched it. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
loved it. Number 2, I think his best sci-fi movie is Looper. Really enjoyed that. Just
really good.
Just really good.
I need to watch that. I don't think I've ever watched that one.
Yeah, just really good script. Just good sci-fi, just really original.
And the way they make Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the way they make him look like Bruce, like a young Bruce Willis, it's really
it's
good.
Awesome. It's so good.
Movie.
Yeah. Number 1 is Unbreakable. Love this film. Same reasons Pete did. I did a whole breakdown thesis paper in college. One of the classes I took on Unbreakable, just really breaking down the script and the different dynamics of it is really, really good. So,
Pete, you must have been top of your class. You did an Unbreakable paper and a Back to the Future paper.
I did. I only pick hits.
And doesn't like Die Hard.
Yeah,
I like good movies.
Crazy.
All right, my 5's kind of similar. My number 5.
Look who's talking, huh? No,
it's just the voice. I honestly, I was about to put it, and then I'm like, he's just the voice though. Like there's so much better films than that. So my number 5, and I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but it's a kind of a Navy SEAL rescue film called Tears of the Sun.
I saw that in the theaters.
Yeah, but it's like a sneaky good
premiere.
Film. Yeah, did you see the premiere of that one, Jay?
Got a T-shirt.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen that one, check that out. It's just like very like especially if you love like military type films and Bruce Willis, like it's just a solid film. My number 4 is Sixth Sense, for every reason everybody said. Number 3, Unbreakable. I also I loved him in that film, and when you first saw it, I didn't know that this was like you're saying, like a superhero origin story film. And obviously they had that little thing in the beginning about comics, and you're like, what does this have to do with this film?
You went to see it because it was an M. Night Shyamalan, and he was still sort of at his peak. You know what I mean? But
it was the second film.
You didn't really go. No, it was on the second film, was it? No,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because Signs came out right after.
Yeah,
I was so let down on Signs.
I think The Village came out before that.
No, Village is after this.
That was after, yeah. So it was Sixth Sense, and then
Sixth Sense, then Unbreakable. Yeah.
I keep talking. I'm going to look at that up.
Yeah, look that up. So yeah, and then my number 2 is Armageddon, for the reason Pete ever said. I mean, you want to talk about a film I've seen a million times. The cinematography in that film, just the thrill ride.
Soundtrack.
this was the soundtrack. Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big Michael Bay fan, but this is
it came out before Signs.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a second film, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, his fourth, but yeah.
His second major film, right?
Second major film.
Yeah. But yeah, Armageddon, I just absolutely love, and I'll always continue to love. I mean, again, the sequence when they're loading into the jet or the space shuttle, I think is just cinematic. Such a great montage.
Cause I miss you, babe.
Yeah. And my number one film, of course, is Die Hard. I think that's undisputable. So with that, I'm actually gonna give the point to Pete Busch, even though he messed up number one, but I love the rest of his list.
He didn't even put Die Hard.
No, he put Die Hard with a Vengeance number 5. So if he had no Die Hards, then I would not. But honestly, he's the only one that put Armageddon, and I love Armageddon. So like, you want to know how to get
what's the tally right now?
What's that?
What's the tally so far?
2-2-1 or 2-2-0.
Who's got 2-2-0?
Jake has 2, Pete Busch has 2, Pete, you have 0.
Unbelievable. All right, let's go.
Hey, don't give up, Pete. You still have a shot.
Don't give up.
Okay, our next category is in the Oscar goes to, and this goes to a cast or crew member who performed the best. Writer, director, actor, cinematographer, whatever element of the film worked best for you. There were some actual Oscar nominations in this film. This was nominated for Best Sound, Don J. Baseman, Kevin F. Cleary, Richard Overton, Al Overton Jr., Best Film Editing, Robert J. Uriosti, John F. Link. For Best Effects, Sound Effects Editing, Stephen Hunter Flick, Richard Shore, and for Best Effects, Visual Effects, Richard Edlin, Al DiSarro, Brent Boats, and Thane Morris. So with that, Pete Escarcega, you're going to start. Who does your Oscar go to?
I was going to go with editing because I really think that the pacing of this film and the comedic timing of this film could only be accomplished with that editing. The director is going to do his job and the actor is going to do their job, but the way that the editor puts it together. But I'm really shocked that Hans didn't get a supporting actor sort of nomination. And I think that, he came in and he just crushed. He came in with elegance and style and sort of a demeanor of class. And then you got like little glimpses of like the sheriff of Rottingham or the sheriff of Nottingham, where he's like, all pissed off at Bonnie Bedelia. You get to like these little things where he's like breaking character but he's funny as well.
He's very layered he's very layered for a villain.
He's one of the best villains, and we'll get to the best villains of all time list later on. But I think Best Supporting Actor should have gone to him.
Yeah, I love it. Pete Busch, what do you have?
Similar. When I was watching it, I hadn't looked at your prep sheet here, so I was thinking about sound and editing. As sound was amazing on the rewatch, even on my phone, you could tell that. Right. But I also put Best Supporting Actor as Alan Rickman. I just thought, as a character, you just haven't seen a villain like that, right? That had played like that, and it was so good. And you didn't really even hate him, you sympathized with him, so it's just really effective.
I think it even started a wave of like characters, like foreign terrorist characters that were actually really smart and intelligent and classy, and they weren't like, what 100%. You consider a terrorist. It's like, this is a real educated person who's just fucking good at their job.
Well, Pete Busch, that brings up a good point, though. Would you say his brother, since you liked Die Hard with a Vengeance more, was his brother a better villain than him, since, Die Hard with a Vengeance is a better film?
Simon says it's the same side, and the same
line and sinker.
You'll have to answer the phone, and then you pick up the jug, and then you fill it.
He complemented a way better cast in Vengeance. Because it's
15
really
times.
it's really just Alan Rickman and Bruce Willis in the original that are really putting some acting chops on display. So,
and the guy behind you too.
that's what I just said. Oh, this guy? No.
That dude.
I don't even know this
Came
guy's
in and
I
crushed
don't even know
every
that guy's
scene.
name.
Mhm.
But
you know who that guy is? He was in Dumb and Dumber, and he's the guy.
yeah, he's
Wait,
the
what?
sushi. He's the guy that rips his heart out.
Yeah,
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Oh my god, that's funny.
What about Reginald Vell Johnson?
Like, it's so terrible.
What?
Terrible.
Carl? You didn't like Carl
What's
Winslow?
wrong with you?
No, I didn't like him at all.
Jeez. I guess
Has a
that's
relationship with the guy, and for some reason, nobody cares what he has to say to the man on the inside. Like
What?
3/4 of the movie is just having like a personal relationship. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't get him. I didn't like it.
That's all right.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, is that Vigo the Carpathian as one of the terrorists? Is that him? Is that the same actor?
That would be amazing if it is.
Right?
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You would know.
Double check on that. Jake, what who does your Oscar get?
I'd like to go for writing, for screenwriting, to Jeb and Steven. And I think, well, this is one of the most quotable movies of all time. So I don't know how you can't give props to just the one-liners alone. But I know it's a little cheesy now, but back in the day, it was the dialogue. That dialogue would have just destroyed.
No, but it's smart too, though.
Yeah. And then, but also, I think just from a like a story structure standpoint, there's literally no wasted plot elements in this movie.
No, and it's
like
a long movie too. This is not a short movie.
Yeah, and I just love how it like kind of branches out into all these little plot things, and they all just wrap up at the end. Like the guy just saying, "Make fists with your toes" on the airplane, and that results in John taking his shoes off, and then that results in Hans shoots the glass, and then he's running all over the glass and getting his feet all bloody, and then Holly's watch, and then so it's like there's all these little things that tie together that you have to be really good at writing in order to keep an eye on all those things.
Even like the shitty Rolex that she
show
got,
him the watch.
That's the thing that he unstrapped to kill Hans.
What are you, embarrassed?
Yeah.
For the record, that is Vigo.
Nice.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wilhelm.
Wow.
Dude, tons of people are in this movie. This is a pretty all-star. Like,
he was in that. You're right.
Character actors.
Thank you.
Wow.
I should get a point for Vigo.
That is pretty good.
Dude, I spotted Vigo the Carpathian. Come on. That's give me some props for that.
All right, Pete. I'll give you the point on this one. I mean, I agree. Hans Gruber, one of the greatest villains of all time. Alan Rickman, he was a theater actor. So McTiernan, who arguably should have gotten nominated as well.
I feel like I should get half a point for having the same answer, but that's okay.
Well, no, Pete's actually getting it for the Vigo comment too, because that is impressive.
Thank you.
We reward special things here.
Yeah.
But Jake, I loved your explanation. You're so right about the writing. Again, in so many different ways. I mean, this is just a well crafted film. This is not your traditional action film. They took risks on, and this is where I would give McTiernan the thing. There's so many risks here. It's Bruce Willis, who was a comedic actor from Moonlighting. It's Alan Rickman, who was a theater actor. And then again, all these bit actors that ended up, I forget his name, but he was in the Goonies. Him and the two Agent Johnsons, right? Like that's just those two guys are awesome. Obviously Carl Winslow is in this as well. Reginald Bell Johnson, the guy behind Pete, it was in several other films as well. I mean, they're just it's an all-star cast of big characters, and then guys that would end up becoming stars as well. So this is just, again, from top to bottom, an excellent film. So again, Pete gets the point. So it's 2-1
on the board.
Yeah, 2-2-1. So Jake 2, Pete Busch 2, Pete Escarcega 1.
Original Pete, we got 2.
Original Pete is at 1. And our next category.
Original Pete is 2. I'm not original.
Your other
Busch is the original.
You're the original one in my life, Pete.
Oh,
That's sweet.
So our next category is the Get Me RA Gold Award for different castings. This one will have you pick a new star over Bruce Willis, because I have a few names here. We have Clint Eastwood originally owned the rights to the novel Nothing Lasts Forever, which is what this is based off of, and planned to star on this film around the early 1980s.
Imagine Clint Eastwood jumping off of the building with a fire hose tied to his.
I think it was a different film. I mean, they changed it. Robert De Niro was originally offered the film, and Bruce Willis got the role after. De Niro turned it down. Richard Gere, Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, Mel Gibson, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, who's who? Charles Bronson, Don Johnson, Richard Dean Anderson, Burt Reynolds, Michael Madsen were all considered, but declined the role. Nick Nolte was the first one to turn down the lead, and Tom Berenger also turned down the role of John McClane. Did I already mention John Travolta as well?
Out of that list, I think Mel Gibson, because I kind of saw the Lethal Weapon tie-in, although it wouldn't have worked because it's basically the same, very similar character.
Yeah.
Kind of roughneck cop, but trying to keep his life together, but is still a badass. So I could see that working.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Jake Fenske, who do you got?
Yeah, I would agree with Pete. I think Mel Gibson, just because. Well, I think Lethal Weapon came out before this, right?
Yeah, I just looked that up. 87.
Yeah, so I mean, you would think. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone played the same character all the time, so
Yeah,
why not Mel? But I don't think. I mean, this
wouldn't work for them, because they're supposed. I mean, his character's supposed to be an everyday man, like not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, for that reason. Also, because this role is so physical,
Yeah.
I don't think you need to have somebody who's a little more athletic. I don't think, like Clint Eastwood or Robert De Niro walking around could be crawling through an ventilator shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I'm not doing that.
Peter Escarcega, who do you have?
Yeah, I mean that's a good take, you guys. But the correct answer, for just a little kind of like a little nuance, would be like a Harrison Ford for like this film, because Harrison Ford brings, even when he's like running, he brings this little character, because he's got that bad hip, so but he's still action oriented, he's still physical, especially in the 80s. I think he would have pulled this off. He would have given us that comedy, but with that little bit of Harrison Ford, you know what I mean? Like the way
Get off my building.
He just doesn't look like
my plane.
Doesn't look like a New York cop.
I think he would. But just because you're from New York doesn't mean you have to sound a certain way, I suppose. I think that Harrison Ford would have.
I mean, let's be real.
Better than
like Bruce Willis had a New York accent anyway. I mean,
yeah, but you look at him and be like, he's a cop.
No, 100%. But
I mean, Harrison Ford's not a
Harrison
cop.
Ford can be anything.
He's the president.
That through his life.
He was Air Force One guy. He'd be the Air Force One guy.
He also
that Blue film, the one during the riots. He's like a detective. Hollywood Homicide.
He also made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. So I mean, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, Pete, what was your time in the
Kessel? How many parsecs did you do?
I'm gonna give the point to Pete Escarcega on this one. I agree. I mean, obviously, I think Mel Gibson's a great selection as well. A little too close though. Jake actually kind of refuted his own point, which is like it's.
I
too
did.
close.
What do you mean?
Was that you or is that Pete Busch that said that? Like it's too close to Lethal Weapon.
That's how I said that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So at one point you made a good hand, because I do think Mel Gibson's probably like a close second, but it's just too close of a similar character to Lethal Weapon, which is why I would go with Harrison Ford. And Pete's exactly right. Pete, he's got like Mel Gibson's a pure athlete at this point, right? Like he looks like a good athlete on film, whereas like Harrison Ford always looks like he struggles.
You know how much that Mel Gibson's mullet would have added to this movie?
That would have been amazing.
Would have taken away from it.
Yeah, totally. So now we're at a three-way tie, 2-2, and we are going into
three-way.
Yeah, we're going into our next category, which is It's Not Your Fault, the most powerful scene that gets you emotional or sad. And Jake, you're gonna lead off this one.
Jeez, that was a tough one to lead off on. All right. I think the kind of the thing that's kind of sets the tone for their relationship, like John and Holly's relationship, that the first scene when he gets into the party and they're in the bathroom and he's talking and they're just arguing.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate to see people going through stuff like that. And also because it just shows you how big of a dickhead he is. As likable as which as likable as his character is, it makes him a little bit more well-rounded in that he's not just an ass kicker, but he's also just being
trying
an
to save,
ass.
yeah, he's trying to save his marriage for sure.
That's the best way. I mean, it makes your character relatable by giving them flaws. That's how you relate to them. So yeah, good point.
Yeah, good job, Pete. What do you have?
Along the same, tone. I mean, I went at the end when he's talking to Sergeant Powell, and he's like, hey, you need to go talk to my wife. Just let her know that she's the best thing that ever happened to a bum like me. Like he's admitting that he's like shitty, but she actually elevated him as a person and admitted that he said, I love you 1,000,000 times, but he never said, I'm sorry. And which is very hard for like a man's man to do, is to just say, I'm sorry, which is like the easiest thing to do in the world. All you got to do is say, I'm sorry. And then it usually solves a lot of your problems. And he finally sort of admits that. And I think that's the reason why he's able to make sequels, Die Hards 2 and 3, because he said that I'm sorry to his wife.
All right, give me 1 second.
Except he keeps doing the same shit all
Except
over
he keeps
again.
doing the same shit over and over. But still, he apologizes still, right? He's learned.
I'm sorry, baby.
Oh, baby.
I just didn't care. You just don't. Awesome. Pete Busch, what do you have?
Similar to Jake, for similar reasons. Like that whole scene, like to Jake's earlier point about the Christmas movie, like it's all about him going back and trying to reunite with his wife and kids. And when he showed up, she's like, where are you staying? And he was going to stay in Pomona with a friend. And she's like, good luck. That's going to take forever.
In Ramona.
And then she's like, well, I have the room made up. You could stay with us. Like you're already like wanting him to get that win. So like the build up from the script standpoint, you're just like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I'm trying to think the whole thing breaks. They get into their little shitty argument over whatever. And then you just see like their whole relationship in like one scene. Like there's they have this powerful love and they want it to work, but then there's all this bullshit that just like prevents it from like just being rekindled. Like, and it's a big like emotional swing in that whole, and that's obviously introducing the relationship. So really good writing.
Wow. All right, Pete, I'm gonna give you the point on that one. I like your explanation on that one. Everyone had good answers on that one, but sometimes it helps to be the last person. So Pete Busch, I'm gonna give you the point on that one. So you are now up 3 to Jake 2, Pete 2 as well. And we are now into
very good explanation, Pete Busch.
Yeah, I can see how you write these papers on Unbreakable and Back to the Future.
And average movies like Die Hard.
You don't lose your point. I just gave you one. Don't lose.
Can you take his point away at this point?
Jeez. Okay, top 5 villains. And this is going to be you, Pete Escarcega, correct?
Yeah, because Jake went first, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, my list is pretty perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and establish what a perfect villain list is, and then you guys can go ahead and follow suit. So my number 5 is a fellow Hans Landa from the Inglourious Bastards. He is one of the greatest written as well as performed villains of all time. Because you never really know, is he really being genuine or is he just going to be a fucking asshole in Inglourious Bastards? And what's the actor's name? God, it slipped my mind.
Christoph Waltz.
Thank you, Christoph Waltz. His performance is just absolutely legendary. And he makes this villain propel into everybody's top 5, starting with mine. Number 4 is Another Hans, which is the Hans Gruber, the Best Supporting Actor nominee for that year. One of the best villains. I mean, you can't even argue it. He's just so great, and I've already talked about him. Number 3, best villains of all time is the one and only Biff Tannen. He's just incredible. He's everything that you remember from high school, and he's every horrible person that you knew growing up, all wrapped sort of up into one.
Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
It's leave. Number 2 is from The Dark Knight. The Joker performance is incredible. Not only written, but it was amazing. It was one of the more perfect performances I think I've ever seen. Nobody who ever played the Joker even comes close to this performance in Dark Knight. And number 1 is the king of all villains, Darth Vader.
Nice. Okay, Pete Busch.
Beautiful list, by the way.
Pete, I think you're gonna like my list. I do.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have an appreciation for it. Number 5, Dennis Hopper in Speed. He was memorable. I think he made that movie, like, it kind of seemed like a ridiculous plot, but like he was a true madman, right? And then they sort of like unpeel his onion throughout the whole movie, and then you feel for him in the end. Number 4, Ivan Drago, for obvious reasons.
Nice.
I think it was a departure from the classic villains of the Rocky series. He was a lot more stoic and not as comical as an Apollo Creed or Clubber Lang. So it stood out.
Yeah, he wasn't over the top.
Yeah. Number 3, Christoph Waltz, but for the same reasons, but different film. Water for Elephants. If you haven't seen that, and his character in that is amazing. Like it was rivaled number 1 for me. It's so good.
Really?
Yeah, it's, if you liked him in Inglourious Bastards, you'll love him in Water for Elephants, because he's such an asshole, but part of him thinks he's genuine. Like he rides that line so well, and the film is just I don't know, I think it was really underrated. I can't remember what I watched on my list. Yeah, it's really, really good. If you like Christoph Waltz, like
I loved him.
That was the film that made it for me. My 1 and 2 are flipped. So I got Darth as number 2, and I got Heath Ledger's Joker is number 1.
Nice.
It's just, I don't think you're ever going to top that as a villain's performance. If he was out of his mind, it was so good.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good list.
Jake, what do you got?
That's a good list.
A good second place list.
I got a lot of similar ones to both of you, but I kind of gave a little extra credit to villains that were in multiple movies, like in a franchise. And then I have a little bit of a curveball in the middle here, which hear me out on. Okay, so number 5, because it's my favorite movie of all time, I'm going Johnny Lawrence, The Karate Kid.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And I know he's not as much as a villain in the Cobra Kai series, but he's still well-rounded enough to have both sides.
I didn't even think about Johnny Lawrence as a villain.
Yeah, I was kind of going back and forth on that one, because I think you could I was thinking doing Ivan Drago, Johnny Lawrence, and Hans Gruber kind of all in that number 5 spot.
Yeah.
But
like slashes.
I think I went with Johnny just because he has Karate Kid.
By the way, that's a good
he's
slash line right there.
Yeah.
I'm going Johnny Lawrence / Drago / Hans Gruber for number 5.
That's a bold move right there.
Solid foundation.
That's a strong start.
Number 4, I got Biff Tannen, of course. Best villains of all time, and any of the Tannen family members from the Back to the Future
Mad
series.
Dog.
Mad Dog Tannen.
I hate that name.
I actually like Mad Dog the most. I think he's so hilarious.
Mad Dog is so good.
Yeah. Okay.
So
And then
good.
number 3 is my curveball, and I'm going 2 of the best movies of all time. I'm going with Michael Corleone from The Godfather. And the reason I say that is because he literally is the villain in that movie. The whole movie is about how he turns from good to really shitty. And in the first movie, he's like, schoolboy good at the beginning, and then he goes completely to the dark side by the ends.
Yeah.
And then the whole second movie is juxtaposes Vito versus Michael and how much everyone loved Vito in the second movie, and then it juxtaposes that with how much everyone hates Michael, and then he starts offing his family members and stuff. And so by the end of the Godfather series, he is just a total villain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and he tries to redeem himself, but they pull him back in.
I haven't
pull
seen the
him
third
back
one
in.
yet, so don't spoil it, that one.
You haven't seen the third one?
No, I haven't made it through.
What?
Yeah, I have it.
It's not great, but I mean, you should at least see it once.
I'll watch
Disappointing.
it.
Just disappointing.
You're the moderator of this?
I own it too, which that's even worse. I own it.
And then I mean, same with you guys. Number two, I got
VHS jacket on.
Heath Ledger's Joker, the Dark Knight series, and number one, Darth Vader.
Nice.
Best villain of all time.
Or ones and twos are the same, basically.
Yeah. So my list is similar. I have two that you guys don't have. My number 5 is Agent Smith from the Matrix series.
That's good.
I just really like how he operates, and again, like the character just gets better and better through each film and becomes more powerful, and is really just can go toe to toe with Neo. My number 4 is Terminator. I'd say specifically that like the T-1000.
The T-1000.
That's Terminator 2, right?
Yeah, what's his name?
Yeah.
Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick.
Yeah.
I
I just remember in that film, like I just remember feeling like I don't know how they're going to defeat this thing. Like this thing is unstoppable. You know what I mean? And he just killed everything, and the technology. Like I just remember thinking like this is literally an unstoppable Terminator. Didn't have really any kind of physical flaws in that respect. So that I really love Terminator. Number 3,
Then he went on to ruin the X-Files.
Yeah. Number 3, Hans Gruber, for all the reasons we've already said. I think, like they said, he just kind of changed the game of villains up where you actually kind of like the villain. And I don't recall that ever kind of being in the history of villains up to that point. Number 2, I did put Darth Vader number 2, and only because number 1, again, like Pete kind of said it, it's not just the acting and the character itself, but it's also just how the story incorporated Heath Ledger. He was the perfect villain to Batman and the protagonist, and that's why it's a perfect script in that regard. And so, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Jake Fenske's, especially with his hard number 5 slash line there. That's just an impressive slash line. No,
Tough decision.
Jake, I liked his curveball, but he threw a 12-6 curveball on us, guys, and it was a very good explanation, and he's right. When you're talking about the full story arc, it is literally about a man going from good to evil, and that was a really good explanation. So Jake, good job, good curveball. Everybody had a good list though. That was a good competition. So it is Jake 3, Pete Busch 3, and Pete Escarcega 2. So we have a championship battle here, guys, and we're getting close to the end. 5 more points left to give. So next we have
anybody's ball game, Paul.
It is definitely anybody's ball game. So next we have Ma the Meatloaf, scene that makes you laugh or feel good. And we are going to start with Pete Busch on this one.
Great.
Good start.
Scene when he jumps off the top of the building and explodes behind him, because they build it up so well with Alan Rickman like hitting the detonator, and then like it's him like still doing the fire wheel, the fire hose, and tying around his waist. Like you're just waiting for this thing to blow up, and then when he blows up, like the explosion is just huge, and that was like a real explosion back then. They didn't like pull the CG stunt. And I remember seeing like a behind the scenes that pulled all that together. So that always makes me feel good.
Well, apparently the only reason why they're able to actually use pyrotechnics on a building like that is because Fox actually owned that building, and that was the only way that
they were still under construction.
Yeah. So that was awesome. The only way they were doing it. Awesome. Jake Fenske, what do you got?
Going, welcome to the party, pal. That scene it's ups the stakes so much in the movie. It takes you in, it just amps everything up. So like, Al is walking around the building And what better way to get someone's attention than throwing a body out of a window onto a car? And then that shot of him just like standing over the broken window.
Yeah, for
Welcome to the party, pal.
Nice.
I mean, that scene just it totally gets you amped up every time.
For sure. Pete Escarcega, what do you have?
Yeah, I went more laugh. I went more funny. Well, shit, I have two, but actually, which one is like the real good one?
You need this point. Make the right choice.
Well, I mean, I don't need anything.
Choose wisely.
I don't desire things the way, you know, most superficial people need, you know.
Here we go.
I'm going to go like one of the funniest things about this film is the writing. And I think the Agent Johnson and Johnson, no relation, is one of the funniest things I think I've seen up to that point in my movie watching career. And then even when he gets on the phone with somebody, he's like, yes, this is Agent Johnson. No, the other one. You know what I mean? He's just like, they keep going back to it over and over again. And every time I watch it, I laugh, even to this day, because I watched it yesterday and I watched it today, and I was laughing every time Agent Johnson and Agent Johnson, no relation, came on. It's just funny. It's just a funny bit of writing, and the acting is classic. I mean, they're both great.
Yeah. So my scene, and this is one like I laughed like hilariously at, but it's when he calls 911. So it's pretty much the scene right before Jake's, but he's calling 911 and like, 911, how may I help you? There's terrorists in Nakatomi, blah, blah, blah. He goes off and they're like, this line's reserved for emergencies only. What do you think? I'm ordering a pizza, lady? Yeah, but he's just like his anger, like you can definitely feel his anger of like just talking to morons that aren't just, you know, they're just reading their scripts or whatever you're talking about. And they're just showing no kind of human empathy. And yeah, I just absolutely love that scene. And yeah, it's by far, I think, the funniest scene in the
That's good.
So I'm going to give the point
to the comedic one.
Yeah, I'll give it, because that is the funniest scene. So those scenes.
Oh, wait, what?
How did that just happen?
Johnson, son.
Yeah, it's the scene that makes you laugh or feel good. So that stuff, it does crack me up today, even still today.
Jake, you deserve that one.
So I'll give the point to
an
Mace.
honorable mention.
You were robbed.
Since I've already won the point, what I was going to go with originally was whenever John McClane, he's such a guy's guy, you know what I mean? Like, he's such a guy. Every time he walks by the posters of like the naked girls,
hey girls,
stop and like look at him and like acknowledge them.
Do you hear he's like, hey girls, and he touches them.
He's like, hey girls.
Yeah, while he's getting shot at.
Yeah, well, he's such a guy. You know what I mean? That's what I love about him.
See, point you made, you would have gotten the point for that one, Pete. Actually, that's a really good, yeah, that one's good. That's good.
Sounds like he would have got it no matter what.
Yeah,
this game's rigged.
Well, the good news is it's 3-3, guys. So we have ourselves a ball game here.
Now
Okay.
we're talking.
Yeah.
These are my strongest categories, by the way.
Yeah.
So
our next category is line please. We're just going to do underrated, because I think we all know, unless you want to do what your favorite is, because I feel like the number one quote is pretty, you know.
Okay, I got,
yeah, or do you want
one for both?
Yeah, all right, go. Let's just do both, and I'll grade both your quotes. Okay, so give your favorite quote and then the most underrated quote, and then I'll judge both of them together. So it's gonna be Jake. You're gonna start this one.
Jake, yeah.
Okay. My favorite quote, and it's not just because it's a funny quote, but it's and I mean the movie's loaded with funny quotes. But,
Totally.
I think this quote in particular, I think just says a lot about his character. When he says, "Just a fly in the ointment, Hans, a monkey in the wrench," and I like that because it literally embodies everything that he's about. He's a regular dude. He's not a superhero. He's a blue collar cop, just stuck in a bad situation, and he's
a Huckleberry.
Yeah, and the only reason he would think to say something like that is because he is that. He literally is the fly in the ointment in the movie, and that's why I like that. That's why I like that quote.
Strong, Jake. That's strong.
Do you want me to go into the underrated quote?
Yeah. What's your underrated?
Just get your
underrated quote. for me is now I know what a TV dinner feels like. Just because it's just so, it's just one of those stupid ones that literally has almost no place in the script. It's just it just is what it is. But I like it because it's it makes me think of one of my favorite Family Guy episodes, which it's it's the Back to the Future parody one where they go, Brian and Peter go back in time and they're crawling through the vents, and Peter goes, "Now I know what a TV dinner feels like." Like it's like Die Hard hasn't come out yet. We could write it, Brian. We could be millionaires.
Yeah. I know.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
Yeah.
All right, Pete, what do you got?
Well, my favorite quote is the one I've used several times leading up to this podcast on our texts is come to the coast, we'll get together, we'll have a few laughs. It's like you could use that line for a lot of different scenarios in your normal everyday life. It's my favorite quote in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Besides the obvious yippee-ki-yay and Hans Booby, I mean, those are obvious quotes. My favorite underrated quote, it starts off with that whole sequence where he's like, glass, who gives a fuck about glass? Who the fuck is this? He's like all pissed off at this woman at the other end of the phone. And it turns into, I'm not the one who just got butt fucked on national TV, Dwayne. And it was the way that he even just said Dwayne. He's like, Dwayne. He's just so, he delivered that line better than I think any director would have asked him to deliver that line. And it's hilarious. Even Argyle busts up laughing after he says it.
No, that was good. That was great. Pete Busch, what do you got?
Mine's easy. Favorite quote is "Welcome to the party, pal." Just it's I reuse that probably more than any other quote in the whole movie.
100%. Yeah.
Underrated, and this just came from my rewatch when right before Hans Bubby, right before he goes in there and he's telling the wife, I can't remember her name.
Bedelia.
Bonnie, yeah,
Holly?
He's telling Holly, he goes, "Hey babe, I negotiate $1 million deals for breakfast. I can handle this Euro trash."
Yeah.
He's got so much confidence. I loved it. Such a douche.
He's such a douche. But he played that role perfectly.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah,
and then he
he's
goes
so
in.
good.
And there's that moment when he's on the phone trying to negotiate the deal, and then he's not answering. He's like, John, and they like, you watch his eyes and he starts to have doubt, like, wait a minute, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Has he been in anything else after that film?
I don't know if I've seen him in anything.
His name's Hart Bachner. I didn't even know.
Like, how do you know that?
It's in the prep sheet.
Yeah.
I don't just know that.
The other thing too, I never knew this either, but apparently where, you know, during that scene, the terrorists give him a Coke, but he was like, "Can I get some Coke?" He was actually asking for cocaine, and the terrorists didn't understand, so they poured him some Coke.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that because they brought him a soda. I'm like, why the hell did they bring him a soda? Like, that's what I didn't hear him ask. That's great.
Yeah, because he wanted basically a bump, and
that's
just again, like Jake's talking about, just subtle writing, like little things that are, it just makes the script brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I'm with Pete. I think "Welcome to the Party Pal" is probably the line I say the most out of this. I mean, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker" is obviously the most iconic line in this. And apparently it almost came out differently. Like they actually kind of wordsmithed that one a few times. He said it a couple different ways on camera. It was like yippee ta and yippee-ki-yay, and they tried which ones, and ultimately yippee-ki-yay won. And then Hans Booby, like again, that whole scene, you can pick almost any line from Hart Bachner, but you know, he's just such a douchebag on so many different levels, and it's funny though. But I'm gonna give the point to Jake Fenske because his explanation I thought was absolutely phenomenal, and he even got deep on us. So good job, Jake.
Real deep.
And an honorable mention when who's the principal from from Breakfast Club, whoever that guy is, when he comes in, and right after the helicopter blows up,
Wayne.
Yeah, when the helicopter blows up, he just says, "We're gonna need some more FBI guys, I guess."
Some more FBI guys.
That's so
We
good.
need some more FBI guys.
He's like, I guess, like the whole helicopter just blew up.
My honorable mention is after John drops all the C4 down the shaft or whatever, it blows out the bottom of the building. And Al goes, "We're gonna need a paint job and a shitload of screen doors." Like that doesn't how does that even make sense?
Yeah.
Can I give one honorable mention since we're doing it?
Yeah, go for it.
Mine is when they're doing the sort of reconnaissance before the first assault, and they're talking about like begin your reconnoiter or whatever, and I had to look up that word, and it's like, oh, reconnaissance, that's where recon comes from.
Right.
Makes sense when you put things together. But then the next scene is like the guy's like running, and the one guy like runs into like a rose bush, and he goes, ow. And he just like stops. And that was the shot. The shot was not actually, can you do it again, but like be more ow next time or something? But he just goes, ow. And he just stops running towards the building. It just made me laugh.
Yeah, nice. The other one I would say, and this is probably the other one I say, is when Hans is talking about we're going to be on an island and collect 20%. Like I always say that for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, that's my small underrated one. Awesome. So again, we have Jake 4, Pete 3, and our next category is great shot. Your favorite shot in the film, and also underrated shot or camera movement that you love. So was it back to Pete Escarcega? You're up.
I'm gonna start with like the best shot or whatever, because I think it's pretty classic. I love a silhouette, and so when he's just like Hans, and then you get his silhouette, you get sparks coming down, and he's standing in that pose where it's clear that his feet are fucking killing him, and he's holding that gun. I think that's just a beautiful shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the most underrated one is the sequence between Hans and Bruce Willis, like with the no bullets. Like, what do you think? I'm stupid, Hans? I think it's shot beautifully, because it's not just like a back and forth between the two, but there's like an angle to each of the shots. So
Dutch angle.
Hans is a little bit like this, and then Bruce Willis is a little bit like this. It's like but then there's also like you get a good sense of the distance between them as well, because I know that Bruce Willis is getting closer and closer to him because he knows there's no bullets. I think it's a beautiful, sort of like a little sequence.
Yeah, absolutely. Pete Busch, what do you have?
So in the very, very end, when Vigo comes back to life and starts shooting the gun, and Reginald, the top right, Al's, the shot where you hear the gunshot, and then you just see the gun, and then they sort of pan up and you see his face.
Yeah.
But if you remembered sort of his story arc where they established that he killed a kid and he got a desk job because he never wants to use his gun ever again.
Yeah.
But he still was a good cop, and in the moment just, made it happen and, shot the guy dead. It's like there's like a lot behind that one shot, but the reveal of him I thought was really well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love how it pans up on him too, and he's holding the gun like a grandma. It's like,
yeah, I picked up on that too. I'm like, I guess he had to hold it that way for the shot to work. But
Mama don't. What's that one movie? Special Mama don't
stop
shoot.
Or my mama shoot.
My mom will
stop
shoot.
Or mama shoot.
My mom will shoot.
Jake, what do you
have? To me, it's the shot where Hans is falling off the building.
Yeah.
I love the composition of it, but also that it's like slow motion. And I guess when they had filmed that shot, Alan Rickman was going to drop like 20 feet or something.
Yeah.
But they let go of him early. They were going to count to 3, and they let go of him early.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. It's so good.
And like you can absolutely see it in his face. He's like, oh. He's like just like terrified, absolutely terrified.
So good.
I also love it because it also brings back the watch element. So like they're breaking up the watch. And if you're into like metaphors and stuff, it just means that like Holly's, and I don't really get why Holly is the one that kind of has to meet John, because it's the watch that breaks, which is essentially her work life.
Yeah.
It's now she's able to get back together with John because he saved her. She doesn't, she's her work metaphor is broken now, so like they can get back
Wow.
together.
Just
But-
laying it on thick for that
Somebody
point.
paid attention in film school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Somebody
Well,
did well.
And then my underrated shot is this one behind me, just because I it's just so iconic.
Most
And
iconic.
Yeah, it's a
I
great
love,
one.
yeah, I just love the composition of it. And it just looks really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I pretty much Jake nailed what I have too. So I guess that makes it pretty easy. But the explanation was great too. I'm gonna give Jake the point there. And,
Running away with it.
yeah. Well, it still can tie. You guys can tie. Jake's guaranteed a share of the win here. But next we're going into director's chair. What would you change about the film? And just a couple quick tidbits. The scene where Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman meet up was unrehearsed to create a greater feeling of spontaneity between the two actors. The scene where McClane falls down the shaft was a mistake by the stuntman who was supposed to grab the first vent as it originally was planned. He slipped and continued to fall, but the shot was used anyway. It was edited together with one where McClane grabs the next vent down as he falls. I thought that was kind of cool. And then director John McTiernan found it necessary to cut away from Hans Gruber's face whenever he fired a gun because of Alan Rickman's uncontrollable habit of flinching from the noise and muzzle flash. And if you look at Rickman's face when he shoots Takagi, you can see him wincing. So again, you're just seeing some again great decisions that McTiernan makes while doing it. Again, this kind of the same thing Jake just mentioned. Just another great decision to catch that spontaneity in Rickman's face that you wouldn't have gotten if he knew exactly the timing. Like, and again, the slow motion really kind of adds to it. Again, little things that he did very, very well. And I think McTiernan did an excellent job directing this film. So with that, it is Busch you're starting, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say a little more consistency with Alan Rickman's trigger finger. He doesn't really value the life of Takagi or Bubby. Like, he just kills them like that, but he has multiple chances to kill McClane, and I don't know why he wouldn't just pull the trigger on it. Like, he didn't. There was even a moment after he got the detonators. It just, I don't know. I felt like that. I didn't buy it.
Yeah. Interesting point. Jake, what do you got?
To me, so you were just talking about the little things that McTiernan did. Now, like, I agree with you mostly, but there's a couple of moments where I'm just like, I didn't really need that. And one of them was one that Pete brought up earlier, which is the SWAT team guy running through the rose bushes. It's like I'm all for comedic elements, but that's a little much. That, and also
you're giving two?
Well, it's
fine.
two instances, but it's the same thing, basically. So
Yeah,
like
Rosebush?
when the rosebush guy, and then the guy that's in Bush's background, when he looks down at the candy bar and he's like eyeballing the Hershey bar or whatever. It's like, dude, you're about to get assaulted by a bunch of cop dudes.
Yeah.
Like, think you'd have your eye on the door. And who eyeballs a Hershey bar anyway? It's like the last of the
most
candies
boring,
to have your eye on.
Yeah.
most boring candy ever. Ooh, is that just chocolate?
What is this, the 30s?
Yeah.
It's a Wonka bar. Pete, what
Even
do
a
you
Wonka bar nowadays. Me. Okay, I have two, but I'll go with this one. I understood Pete Bush's point about, Sergeant Powell completing that arc and actually firing his gun and killing the bad guy. I never liked that the bad guy just kind of popped up out of nowhere. He was hanging from something way up high on like the 30th floor, and then all of a sudden he's down underneath a bunch of blankets or whatever
With
down
his
at
gun.
the ground level. Like, where the fuck did he come from, and why would he go through so many like theatrics just to get to that final moment to get killed? If he wanted revenge on John McClane, why would he come down 30 flights, hide under a bunch of blankets and shit, and then jump out at the last minute? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I couldn't
I understand the
argue
completing of the arc for that secondary character,
Yeah,
but it doesn't make any sense why he was underneath a bunch of blankets and then just showed up.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
Complete
Once, like,
false
kill
ending.
people.
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah,
It seemed a little contrived.
yeah. I don't think that's hard to argue. I think it's more of the finishing of the character arc is kind of ways higher than that. But yeah, it's a good point.
It's like, well, shit, we gotta do something about Sergeant Powell. What should we do?
Yeah.
Let's just make him jump out of some blankets.
Yeah, it might have been kind of tight in that. It's like, oh, we have 5 minutes left in this scene. Let's just pop up.
Yeah.
Just pop up. What was your other one? I'm just curious.
When like that Italian German terrorist or whatever is shooting McClane from on top of the tables, like it's clear that he's shooting right there, but you can clearly see McClane way up ahead.
Yeah.
At the same point of view. Like, why wouldn't you just level your gun up? You could have killed McClane right then and there, and you guys would have been done with the movie.
Yeah. All right. Pete, I'll give you the points. Those are pretty good. Pretty good. So
shooting for a tie.
Yeah. So that'll officially eliminate Pete Busch, guys. Just like the Denver Broncos from playoff contention, Pete Busch.
Wow.
Well,
that's a low blow.
See, I'm a diehard fan. Get it? See?
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
Wow,
you
should get a point a minute ago. I might have given you the point.
I'm still proud.
You should get a point for that. That's good.
You know what? I'll give you a point for that, Pete. That was good. That way it's 4-4.
That was so clever and quick. That was really quick.
Yeah.
It's a witty point. You got a wit point here. That's what we give away here at the Action Podcast.
2 of my points are wit points for the record. So
yeah.
And you're lucky. You don't even like this movie, so be thankful.
Yeah, right? Yeah, the fact that you're in this is just a miracle.
I don't even want to be here.
Fine. nothing better to do on a Monday night. Our last category for all the marbles is our top 5 hostage movies.
I got it.
Good. And, this was tough, but this is good.
And this is we're starting with Jake. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 5, I got Speed. Bunch of people locked on a bus, can't go less than 50 miles an hour. I mean,
that's the definition of a hostage situation there, Jake.
Yep.
Keanu Reeves and a cute Sandra Bullock.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Number 4, I got Man on Fire, which I think is one of Tony Scott's best movies outside Top Gun.
That one's good.
Number 3, I got Predator, which is kind of a little bit of a stretch here, but hear me out for a second, because their whole mission is to go save hostages. And then they end up being hostages in the jungle to the Predator. So
hey, are you wearing sweatpants right now?
No, I'm with you on that one. That's not sweatpants at all.
Are you sweatpanting it right now? Wow. Okay.
I just said hear me out. You don't have to agree with me, but
no, it's good.
That's a good explanation. You saved that one.
Okay. And then number 2, I have Taken. Which
because you have a special set of skills.
I have a special set of skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. And then obviously number 1's Die Hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then poor Liam Neeson got typecasted after that film and just didn't do any other kind of movie after that.
He only does hostage movies.
That's it. Just put him in different.
The Liam Neeson list.
Pete, what do you got?
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. Mine is completely different than Jake's, like except for Die Hard. Die Hard spoiler number 1. Number 5 for me.
Marketing, Pete.
Number 5 for me is Toy Soldiers. It was one of the first sort of hostage movies that I ever saw, and I hadn't seen Sean Astin since The Goonies, which was one of my favorites. So I got to see him again. I got to see Will Wheaton from Stand By Me. And man, it was just a great action-packed movie, and it was clever. It's people aren't going to like this movie as much as I love it, but this movie is near and dear to my heart, and it's number 5 on this perfect list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 4, because I have to put a Kevin Costner movie in there, is A Perfect World.
I saw that. I don't know if I ever saw that one.
It's
Where is this list going?
Good
dude,
lord.
this list is great.
Way to bury
Perfect world.
yourself.
He's an escaped convict and he kidnaps this little boy who they end up being like best buddies. But Kevin Costner's great in this film, and it's a really well done film. It's a Clint Eastwood film. Clint is also in it, but he directed it, and it's a fantastic film, and it's really well done.
Yeah. I saw this.
So to hell with all of you.
I haven't even heard of it.
Number 3 is a movie
coming
that
with
I
you
did
too?
not realize that this movie that I chose for number 3 was a part of a trilogy until the very, very last scene, and it was split. And I thought this was one of the more clever films I've ever seen, just because you go through this whole journey, and then at the very end you see Bruce Willis's character from Unbreakable, and you're like, oh my god, like this is it, like finally, like after years and years and years, we've been waiting for a sequel to Unbreakable, and it happened. Number 2 is this, V for Vendetta, son. One of the best films I've ever seen. He takes as a hostage Keira Knightley and
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman. They're pretty much the same person. Takes her hostage, makes her into a revolutionary like himself. One of the better films I think I've ever seen. I've seen it a million times. And number 1, Die Hard. God, that list is beautiful. Beautiful list.
Pete Busch, what do you got?
All right, number 5, I got Air Force One. Just really, really enjoyable flick. I think Harrison Ford played a great president in that one. 4, Taken, for reasons already listed. Number 3, Con Air. I mean, anytime you got Nick Cage and Malkovich, it's just a fun flick, and Steve Buscemi's character is so good.
Yeah.
Number 2, greatly underrated, but was the first movie that came to mind when I was thinking of hostage movies, was Airheads. When they take when they take over the radio. We should do an episode on Airheads.
That's at number 5.
Number 2, it's so good.
Yeah. That movie's so funny.
It's so funny. And number 1, Argo. Just Argo, fuck yourself. Really, really good.
Yeah.
That one's good.
Wow, no Dog Day Afternoon from any of us.
Oh,
huh?
yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch that again.
Yeah.
That one's good. So yeah, my number 5 is John Q, with Denzel Washington, and Kevin Connolly's in that one, and a bunch of people, Ray Liotta, Robert Duvall, but I really like that film. 4, Pete had it, Toy Soldiers. I absolutely love that film. Could even been higher on my list, but I kept it lower as number 4. My number 3 is a slash because it's kind of a similar concept, but it's Navy SEALs and Act of Valor, but it's both, kind of rescue missions of Navy SEALs, so I felt that's an appropriate slash. But
number 3?
Yeah, I love those films.
Okay.
And then number 2 is The Town, directed by Ben Affleck. That's one of my favorite films. And
it's not a hostage film.
Yeah, she's a hostage the entire film.
No, she's free the whole time.
It's on a list of hostage.
That's not a hostage film.
Blackmail. Just kind of a hostage situation.
She's metaphorically a hostage.
Now you got the sweatpants.
Come on.
Well, luckily, I'm not getting a point, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, are you wearing sweatpants right now?
I mean, those are like, yeah.
Anyways, I love the movie.
It's a great movie, but it's not a hostage movie.
There's some
anyways, go on.
Situations. And yeah, my number 1 is Die Hard. So I'm gonna give the point to Pete Busch on this one, even though he didn't have Die Hard number 1.
What?
But I did love the rest of his lists, and he did have Con Air.
I agree.
Con Air kind of won it for him because nobody had Con Air, and even I didn't have Con Air. I probably should have put that.
No Misery.
Misery's good. I just don't ever want to watch it again.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too, and
I mean, it's a great film. It's so good. I don't want to watch it. All right, so we have a tie between.
We had a tie the last time, didn't we?
Pete Busch and Jake. Jake actually was going to win it, and then the Predator.
Wait a minute, wasn't I already eliminated?
No, because you got the wit points.
I got the end of the wit points. That's it.
Get the wit point. Yeah, your wit point saved you, Jake. So
But you guys could both pick Rocky 4 to watch next.
actually, you guys are already
Yeah.
scheduled on one, so really you're not gonna pick a winner here. Yeah, because you guys already have 2 movies. So yeah, Rocky 4 obviously is still on tap. Thanks again. Thanks Pete Escarcega, Pete Busch, Jake Fenske for coming aboard.
Thank you guys for being here.
Comment on our
Yeah,
list,
thank you,
please.
guys.
Comment on our list. Subscribe. Help us grow. You can catch us on YouTube. We're also on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And with that, again, thanks again. That is a cut. Thanks, fellas.